Welcome to Own It, Your Business and Your Life with Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. In this podcast, we're going to cover everything you need to embrace to become a successful entrepreneur, marketing, money and much, much more. How to create a business doing just what you love. How to own it, your business and your life. This one will be fast, funny, feisty and very lively. So sit back and enjoy the show.
So good morning to you, but good afternoon to me. Hello, San Diego.
Hey, hello, London from San Diego. How are you?
I'm good. It's exciting. This is our first attempt at a dual continent, a transatlantic podcast. Never been successful before, but I'm optimistic.
Yeah, so am I. I wish I could show you my view. I'm on the 27th floor of the Hyatt, looking out over the marina. Now, if ever there was a view to make you feel wealthy, it's that one. It's just.
I think I've seen it. Sue O'Kell's chum Alan shared it.
Yeah.
I think Alan, no, Texas Tim or Big Al, one of Sue O'Kell's chums, shared it. So I think I've had a look.
Yeah, I must meet them, actually. I'll try and track them down. And then beyond the marina is the bridge that goes across the, I don't know, some sort of harbour kind of thing. And, you know, it's just absolutely beautiful. Then if you look off to the left, there's the whole city. And at night, it sparkles. And all the aeroplanes that are coming down to San Diego Airport are coming down in the sky about the same height as you are.
Yes, and San Diego Airport, interestingly, is in the middle of town, isn't it? Rather than normally we have them on the outside of town.
Yeah, no, it isn't very far away at all. It was quite a short drive, yeah.
And I think that bridge called the Coronado.
I've got no idea, Judith. My geography's not that good.
Well, speaking of geography, you've just driven across the country.
3,250 odd miles in 4 Mustangs.
Holy shit, that's a lot of miles, isn't it?
It was about 600 a day, which is a bit like driving, I don't know, Scotland. Driving to Scotland every day.
Yeah.
It was bonkers, but you know, in a way, you sort of got used to it, and it was, you know, you got off the cruise sometimes, you know, before, and you could feel the boat moving beneath your feet, even when you were on dry land. But we negated that by getting into cars, and the ground moved underneath us. And then it was only when I got out of the cars that I started to get a bit wobbly. Yeah. So what else? So what's happened to your week then? Let's go to your week.
Well, it's been 2 or 3 weeks since I've spoken to you, hasn't it?
So
I'm absolutely loving February. I decided that I was going to be on a high vibration throughout, and I took up the green smoothies. And the green smoothies have led me back to juicing, and lots of marvellous things are happening, as you'll hear later in the call, and it's all going swimmingly.
Oh, well, that's lovely, isn't it? And is it grim weather over there, or are you just ignoring that?
We had a big, since you are in the land of the hurricane and we're not, extraordinarily, we had some kind of American tail end hurricane on Sunday, Monday, I think, but now a lovely sunny day.
Oh, gorgeous. Well, there you go. We're matching weathers.
Yeah, well, we're not quite matching. You've got a lot of degrees on top of me, but all is quite nice in England.
Yeah, I've got to say, when we got out the car to pop the cars off at the airport, with only a chip on the windscreen from a stone after driving through the Mexican desert to show for their experience, they're probably a bit stinkier than when they started. But cause they've been like our second homes, those cars. Lovely, lovely cars to drive, the Mustang, I have to say. And we dropped it off, and it was like a really nice, hot, dry heat, because quite a lot of the places we've been to, like Louisiana, were, you know, New Orleans was very humid. But San Diego seems to be a really nice, dry heat. I can see why people like to live here.
Oh, California is one of my favourite places in the world.
Well, there you go then. So, yeah, I mean, one of the reasons I came on this trip was to break through lots of ridiculous limiting fears that stopped me doing things at home. And it really has. It's busted a lot of my fears. I mean, we went to the airport to pick the cars up, and Mark announced he couldn't drive in Florida because he's got an old outstanding speeding ticket that he's always been trying to settle, but he has to do in person. So it's proved impossible to do as yet. He thinks he's going to have to hire an American attorney to sort it out for him because he couldn't drive across Florida. So I had to get in the car in the airport car park and just drive on the right hand side of the road on the 4-lane freeways for 3 days. Just talk about a baptism of fire. I've never come across anything like it.
I do remember doing that, landing in Florida as the sun goes down, which is what happens if you fly from England, and having my mother with me, and she was a bit tired and emotional. And you have to get into the car the wrong side around, and you have to work out how the funny seatbelt things work, and then you have to master, the 4-lane highways. It's all quite. And then we drove across Alligator Alley, which you've done as well, because we were going to Naples on the other side. I've done that drive, and I know exactly what you're talking about. It's it throws you a bit to begin with, doesn't it?
Yeah, it was better because we had walkie-talkies, so each car had its own walkie-talkie, and so the boys went ahead and were giving me things like 30-second warning to coming off on the left-hand side kind of thing, which made it better. Yeah. But then when their sat nav played them foul and gave them last-minute instructions, it was quite hair-raising trying to cross over. Yeah. But I mastered it, and after that, honestly, anything else that I had been worrying about became trivial and fell away. It was a really liberating, exhilarating, epic experience, and I can't tell you how glad I am I did it.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, absolutely. So what's fueled your fire this week then, Judith?
Do you want to go first?
Oh, well, all right then. Of course, spending 6 hours a day in a car, you end up talking quite a lot, although we did have Wi-Fi hotspots in the cars, which is another must-have accessory for me now. I can't imagine not being able to get online in a car. But if obviously not if you're driving, but the passenger was able to work a bit, so we were all able to keep up with, keep on top of most of our work. I deliberately didn't schedule very much for myself because I know how stressful it can be, especially if people are expecting to speak to you at a certain time, and for whatever reason you can't get online at that time. But we did talk a lot, and it was interesting because Pete always drove Andy because Pete gets very twitchy as a passenger, so he always drove. But I went with Pete occasionally. And then I also swapped around with Mark Donnan, and there was who else was there? There was Kayla and Michael, who are just the most lovely couple you could ever meet, and they always stuck together. And there was Mike Warren, so various people went with Mike, and everyone talked about different things. So with Andy, it was like an MBA, Judith, in business, but different aspects of business depending on which car you were in. So Andy obviously talked about mindset a lot, and that was really good. Oh, he also. It turns out Andy's got the worst taste in 80s soft rock music ever on the planet, which he reflected on me for the entire 6 hours. So it was either Def Leppard or Kylie Minogue, and he sings along too in rather a good tenor voice, which just I can't. Anyway, I flatly refused to go with him after that day. Mindset discussions. Mark has no taste in music, and Mark Donnan, this is, who used to run, he comes from a big business background. He was like the vice president of marketing or operations or whatever for companies like Pfizer and Mars generally, actually. He pioneered the movement of Mars bars into ice cream bars and things like that. And he obviously worked with Hard and Dast before that. So he's really got some big business thinking, and he's grown his digital agency Froggo from 0 to $250,000 turnover, I think, but it would have been quicker. But he's had 2 complete changes of staff because they work with Lithuania because his wife's Lithuanian, and they work with a whole team of Lithuanians, and so it was interesting talking to him about running an agency without any staff like I do. I've got some obviously part-time people, and then on the last day, Judith, this will crack you up. He gave me a lesson in management accounting. He took me through a set of management accounts line by line, and it was really interesting because it made me think about things like my marketing spend completely differently. And he was giving me all these ratios that were incredibly helpful. So he said, when you're getting a business off the ground, you're looking to spend about 20 to 30% of your turnover on marketing, but that's not sustainable. A good, solid, sustainable business never spends more than, say, 20% on marketing. But it was really interesting. He gave me quite a few rules of thumb, barometer kind of things to just gauge the health of the business, which was really interesting, and you'd have loved it, I think. You probably know it all already, but you just don't know.
Well, I do know about management accounts, and I agree with you. They are very sexy.
Yeah, well, they got a lot sexier in that 6 hours, I can tell you. But this was while, you're talking about these sort of everyday things while driving through. I mean, Sedona. Oh my God, that was so beautiful. It was.
Yeah.
And then you
Yeah,
go
with
you go
the
through,
red rocks.
yeah, and you come through the desert to get to Sedona, and then you climb up into this mountain place where all American Indians, were selling their wares, their jewelry and their paintings and things, and they were all licensed, by the state, so they were genuine artifacts that they'd made, and it was just, but you were surrounded by snow and pine trees, whereas a minute ago you'd been in the Mexican desert. It was just bizarre. So, ordinary topics of conversation, expanding your mind while looking at stunning scenery. That's really fueled my fire. It really has. And when I rode with Peter, we were talking about what he does. Because he's a world-class joint venture manager now. I mean, everybody respects and likes him. He knows everybody. He can get to everybody, and he really runs things really well. So, I said, well, there's a product there, Peter, and so we've done a deal where I'm going to make him a joint venture. A joint venture product, information products and training course, because
very good. He's one of my favourites. We went to New York with him. He's great fun too, isn't he?
Such a nice person. Really, I tell you, you learn something about yourself driving across the country with 3, 4, or 5 other people, and you learn something about those other people. And one of the things I've learned about Pete is, he comes across as a bit of a bulldog sometimes, but he's actually the nicest, most gentlemanly person you could ever wish.
Yes, I remember we enjoyed his company a lot, and his wife, when we went to New York in 2005. That's 10 years ago.
Yeah.
What else did I want to say? Oh yes, and you have a nickname which is Two Cardigans Cairncross.
Yeah,
is that right?
Two Cardies Cairncross. I got that one in Tombstone. Because we all had something. Tombstone.
That's a good one.
So much fun. I mean, all of it was beautiful, but for sheer fun factor, staying in a haunted bordello in Tombstone, going to Big Nose Kate's Saloon Bar and the Longhorn Restaurant for a side of ribs. I mean, it was cliche after cliche after cliche, but I absolutely loved it. Yeah, awesome that was. So what about you? What's fueled your fire this week?
Well, I'm 10 days into it now. Audio boom. I'm making these 3-minute little audios every day. More content creation, obviously, and having fun with it.
And how are you doing them? Because you don't sound like you're reading, but you do sound like you planned it out beforehand. We've
got quite a poor audio quality. I'm not sure this is going to work for a podcast, I'm warning you. I can only hear one word in 2 out of that question.
Okay, it's hit loud and clear from this end, so we'll hope for the best and plough on. How are you doing it? Are you writing them out beforehand? Because they don't sound scripted, but they do sound planned.
Yes, I sit and have a thought, and I write it up on a page of A4, and then I turn it into big print, and I try not to read it. It's difficult to get the vocal tone right, because I want it to be like a thought for the day, and I don't know. I hope ultimately I'll be able to do them unscripted, but at the moment I am reading what I've written without trying to let it sound like that. And I'm only 10 days in. And some are more successful than others. I don't want them to creep up in length. I think 3 minutes is about right. I'm just exploring and having fun, and I like audio. And we haven't done a podcast. I know the audience doesn't know this, but we haven't done a podcast for 2 or 3 weeks. So it was just something audio-ish to do while you were gone.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, they're really working, Judith. They don't sound stilted. They sound natural and easy, and I've been enjoying them enormously.
Good.
Didn't know I was listening, did you? What's our client challenge of the week then?
Well, I'm not sure it's a client challenge, and I don't think it's a client opportunity. It might be a client threat. It certainly might be a Judith threat. And you are in the best place to talk about this. Have you got a pencil and paper? Because you might want to take notes.
Okay.
On something I'm going to. I read a couple of articles this week. I wanted to start very briefly with the one that I shared and then you shared from your Natasha Courtney Smith, Jeremy Vines woman. Remember the one about how he gets such great traction on his Facebook page was by uploading video directly, not via YouTube. I wanted to make sure that I'll link to it in the show notes. Everybody needs to read that article, I think, don't you? Wasn't that fascinating?
Yeah, it was. And they've just literally introduced, in fact, while we were on the cruise, it went live in the UK, Because Mike Stewart, who is the audio and video guy, we had breakfast one morning, and he was telling me about Facebook Video Live, which is just
That's it.
literally happening. Yeah, and he showed me,
Yes.
and we realised
Yeah.
it was live in the UK now.
Yeah. And but that's not what I wanted to talk about in this section. But I wanted to make sure everybody knew about that. If you're uploading video to your Facebook page, which Facebook want you to do, don't do it via YouTube. Do it directly from your gadget that you've recorded it on. RAW,
Yeah.
I don't know what the
Get
word
a lot
is
more
for that.
traction, yeah.
Yeah. Now, I want to talk about an article, and I thought of sending it to you in advance. It's written by, I don't know how to pronounce this man's surname, but I think you'll know who I'm talking about. His name's Chris Guillebeau. I think he might be Canadian. It's a French. Yeah, the $100 startup. Do you remember?
Love it.
And the art of nonconformity. Well, he's written quite a controversial article here, which is going to cause me and quite a lot of our clients, I think, some problems. It's called The New Economy: How the World of Online Publishing is Changing and Why You Should Care. And I've preseed it to give you a top line of it so that we can talk about the 3 or 4. He's got 4 important points here. And you'll know that going back over a decade, he's what we would call a thought leader. And his, built his business on the back of a blog. And basically what he's saying is nobody can do that anymore because everything's changed. So I'm going to give you the 4 top line points about this. And he begins by reminding us that people in MySpace, and I don't mean MySpace like capital M, capital S, people in the space in which I'm in, who create content as a way of marketing, he sees a handful of threats to this, and he says the thought leader space is oversaturated. So the thing that you taught me how to do, and I teach my clients how to do, and many people that we know, create a platform, build a following, sell ebooks and online courses. He says that's saturated. Now, the reason I'm talking to you today, as you're at the Traffic and the Traffic and Conversion Summit, or something in San Diego, you're with a lot of thought leaders on online stuff. So if you don't know the answers to these, you can go off and find it amongst the audience there.
Your mission should you accept it.
Yeah. So his first point is, the raison d'etre for people like me is to either make something or be helpful. So all of our clients that we've known for 12 or 15 years or less, we teach them if you're going to build a business online around the things that you love to do, you've got to make something that you can sell, you've got to be helpful. I'm in the helpful space, obviously. And he's saying this is all oversaturated. Digital products have greatly evolved. The novelty's faded and skepticism has set in. So where we had that advantage of being an early adopter of all of this, the world's catching up and they're not all that keen. The rules of engagement of social media have changed. So he's saying Twitter is in its death throes and will die. Humans of New York, as you and I have discussed before, not on this podcast, doesn't even have a website. They go straight from social media to their Amazon listing. Millions of fans have never been to his website. They engage through social media. And he's saying that the hub supports the network, not the other way around. So, we might blog to drive people to our website. He's saying, create the relationships with people on social media and keep them there, and let your hub behind that support it all being on social media. And the last one is, on its own, blogging is no longer valuable or interesting. Blogging was how he built his business. It's his own favourite medium, but he no longer allows or encourages comments on his blog, because user preferences change. They don't want to comment on his blog. They want to comment where he shared it on social media. Personality still matters, but you can no longer blog your way to stardom or wealth. Even giveaway posts no longer work, and they used to get thousands and thousands and thousands of comments. They don't anymore. So what he's saying is the sign of the times are that both Twitter and blogs are dying. Change is the only constant. He doesn't have any answers to this. He's saying now it's about working differently. Hard work doesn't equal success. You've got to be different. And he doesn't have any answers. He says we're all figuring it out in real time. Now, I don't think he's a scaremonger, this man. We both like and respect him. But he is ahead of the curve, obviously. But he's saying this is the writing on the wall. And I see that as quite, well, my first reaction was quite doomy, gloomy, scary. I like social media as it happens, and I like interacting. And this is, last week we talked about Facebook groups. There you go. That's an example. A list by another name. Play in the space that the your tribe enjoy, not the one you wish they would. I.e., bringing them to the website so they opt in, so you can sell them stuff.
Oh, where do I start?
I know. I know exactly. It's a lot. It's a lot, isn't it?
I don't think anything has fundamentally changed, except for the one thing that changed about a year or two ago, but most people don't know changed, which is that you can no longer market your business for free online. You have to have a marketing budget of some kind. And the whole thing about blogging is I don't agree that blogging's dying because people want online either education or entertainment. I have spent quite a lot of time because I wasn't very well yesterday, and it was a quiet day here, so I spent quite a lot of time in my room. And I turned to YouTube and Gary Vaynerchuk particularly for entertainment, not because I was specifically wanting to learn anything, but I just wanted to be entertained. But I didn't want to just watch a TV program. So I think if you Medium.com is one of the fastest growing platforms online, and that is a blog, a thought leader blog kind of website.
Yes,
So I think, okay, taking it from the top, sounds like a great book. We'll have to buy and read. The thought.
No, not a book, article. I'll link to it. It's just a longish article.
Oh, okay. I think he's right about the thought leader space being oversubscribed because there are a lot of people who are, sharing their thoughts online. But I think that we all gravitate to just a few. So, we perhaps have, I don't know, 5 or 10 favourites. And so in that way, my I'm not trying to cram everything in. I'm just looking to the people I respect and like and resonate with. And I'm checking out what they do recently. The other thing is that a lot of people over the last year have been using blog posts and then paying to boost them. And we've got to get over this thing of expecting everything to be free. If you're in business, you've got to have a marketing budget, and you've got to, even if it's minimal, even if it's £10 a week, you could use that £10 very wisely to boost a blog post or a podcast article, to advertise it on Facebook and get traffic there, and then just remarket. You could use £5 of it or $5 of it to get the traffic there. It's very highly engaged traffic. If someone's come from Facebook to a blog post to read your blog post or you're listening to your podcast article about a particular topic, that is a highly engaged audience. And then if you remarket your offer to them, and especially if that offer is to download something for free or watch something for free or even read something for free, which is seen as the least valuable medium. Video is the highest value, but it doesn't have to be you talking to camera. It can just be you going through a PowerPoint slide, or even just you talking with a picture in the background. You're going to get a lot of engagement from those people who previously visited your blog post, and the people in the know have been doing this for a year or two now. They've been using paid medium to amplify, as it's called, their content, which gives them a massive advantage over all those other people who are just blogging away, expecting traffic to turn up. So, you can very easily become a perceived thought leader for a very small investment.
Okay, now draw breath and let me ask you a question. Any idea how much it costs to amplify a blog post on Medium?
It's dirt cheap. If you did, say for example, if you combined this new live video thing, and you recorded, a 1 minute video and about your blog post and invited people to click to come and read it or to view it or to listen to it, then you're going to be paying. I mean, I've been getting video clicks for clients for 5p and 10p. So where a click on an ad can cost, anything from 70p to £1.50, I can get 10 times the visitors to a blog post from a video. And then you've got the option. Facebook does some amazing things. It will allow you to advertise to the people who click to view the video. It'll allow you to advertise to the people who watch the video all the way through to the end. And then it will allow you to build an audience from and advertise to the people who actually click to go through to your website to view your content. So it's about being really selective and not just blanket advertising, but really thinking, if people come and watch this video, they're really interested in this topic. Or if people click to come and read this blog, they're really interested in the topic. And then you just advertise your free gift or lead magnet to those people, not to just everybody on Facebook. So, everyone's been doing this for a little while now, but it's a big shift in mentality from blogging being free marketing to blogging being just one tool in your armory of marketing tools, some of which are going to cost you a little bit of money.
And do you remember Dan Norris's book about content? What was that called?
Content Machine.
Yes. Did he recommend paying to, or was his all about leveraging free content?
Dan has never paid for any ads until I came along, and we were working recently. But I think he's now very much sold on the idea of amplifying content using advertising, because it works so well for his possible campaign and the challenge. He was doing the challenge just recently. I mean, I've been advertising our Anglo-American road trip page, and Andy sent out to his mailing list. And of the 426 likes we got in a week, over 200 of them were from my ads. And he mailed to a massive, multi-thousand mailing list, and got the same, roughly the same amount of likes as I did in a week. And I paid something like £127 for it. Well, he's paid a lot more than £127 to build his mailing list. But what everyone's got to remember about mailing lists is they get tired. They get, people unsubscribe.
Yes.
You have to be constantly working to refresh your mailing list. Otherwise, when you mail about a new product, it will only be going to 10% of the people, and only 10% of those will open it.
Yeah.
So I think it's just that Chris has managed to sum up what's been happening behind the scenes. I'm not convinced about Twitter dying. I still use Twitter with enjoyment for different things that I use Facebook for. So I don't know. Perhaps he's in the know at the Twitter investment house. I don't know. But I think it's just, and I agree about that thing about comments. Lots of people are turning their comments off because, yes, everyone wants to share your article on social media if they enjoy it, rather than just commenting quietly where only you can see their comments.
Yeah.
I think if you can get your head around this shift from free marketing to paid marketing, but not very expensive paid marketing, then, as I say, I've been watching a lot of Gary Vaynerchuk recently, and he's just doing some incredibly awe-inspiring things with social media, and a lot of that, what he's doing is free, but it's all about, as you say, getting the engagement and the activity going on social media. But the hub, your website, is still essential, I think.
Well, I tell you what I think might be interesting in a future week. You'll probably be too tired when you get back next week, maybe 2 weeks, would be for the ordinary person who's not Gary Vaynerchuk. What are the 3 simple steps to paying to amplify? I like this word amplify a lot. The 3 simplest steps without setting up a Facebook ads campaign to paying to boost a blog post. Or I understood what you said, but I didn't know how to do it.
Okay. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And it's interesting because my kids have both got, Phoebe's got a blog now. She's not blogging very regularly because she's definitely much more on social media. But and Nelson has just set up his first Facebook page for his future music promotion company. So they're going about it in very different ways. But they both realise that it's very important to have a home site where people can come and find them. And Nelson, has got no concept of the fact that if he does one single thing that Facebook object to, they could just shut his page down.
Yes.
I hear regularly about people who have whole rafts of their pages just closed summarily by Facebook, and it kills you. If that's all you've got, your business is dead in the water at that point. Whereas if you've been training your followers, your crowd, your audience to come to your website, and they know that what your website's called, then if your Facebook page disappeared tomorrow, it wouldn't be a disaster because most of the activity will still be happening on your website. That's the biggest reason not to put all your business activity onto a social media platform.
Yes, you didn't say that Facebook was dying, although I take your point about threats, because you do have to have a belt and braces there. And in fact, quite a lot of the comments we had on last week's podcast, not on our pages, but in groups that I'm in, were all around. In fact, Irene commented on our group the risks of over-reliance on a Facebook group or page, which is you're building the house on somebody else's real estate. and somebody else said the same thing somewhere else. You know, people are a little bit suspicious of Facebook because they know the threats of Facebook.
Yeah, and if they saw what I saw, which is big internet marketers getting their pages closed for no reason that they can discern, obviously they've upset Facebook somehow. But
Yeah.
it's frightening how much Facebook knows about us. So, for example, it wasn't just the one page that got closed. They went and just shut down this person's all of their pages that were connected
Yes.
to the profile. All the 20,
Yes.
30 of them just got closed
Yes.
summarily like that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, so I think it's a good idea to have a blog website just because you need somewhere to take people to get them to opt in. And building a mailing list, every single person still says building a mailing list is still the most important thing you can do, even though it's getting harder and harder to engage your mailing list audience, and you've got to accept that it will. What's the word I'm looking for? It degrades, or the quality of the subscribers degrade over time. That was a big learning for me when we finished the money jib, because you think you come out of somewhere. I think we all had 8,000 odd people on the list, and it just became less and less effective as a marketing tool because we weren't putting new people in the top end.
Yeah. And that happens with anything, actually. How many more days have you got of the Traffic and Conversion Summit?
What day is it today? Wednesday. Wednesday and Thursday, and then I fly home on Friday.
Keep your eyes peeled for any innovators who are telling us what's going to replace the email list.
What's going to replace? I don't think anything ever will replace it. But
I do, and I'm prepared to say that here and now on the 10th of February 2016. I think by 2020 there'll be something better.
Oh, okay. Well, subscribe.
Because everybody's sick of email. They don't open them. They're bored of them. Let's see. And it is incredibly hard work to keep building and refreshing a new list.
Well, it's not once you know what you're doing, because I've constantly got between 10 and 50 people going into my list every day now. So what we're talking about here is small businesses versus businesses who've got any kind of marketing budget.
I agree. Yes, your clients versus mine.
Yeah.
Which is 20 people going into your list every day at what cost? And I think that cost is beyond the reach of most to begin with.
Well, I think you can educate yourself. There are some really good courses, free courses online. I mean, if you go to Google and type in Lead Pages Facebook Ads course, you'll find a free Facebook Ads course. Lead Pages are very up to date. They'll be keeping that course up to date, and it is really, really good to do. And I can amplify content. I can amplify. I was getting those likes for the page on the Anglo-American road trip for 60p. It come down from £1.50 to 60p, and that's what people forget about these Facebook ads and things like that. They're getting cleverer and cleverer as you go along, but you have to have the balls to realise that they're going to cost a bit at the beginning, but they get cheaper as Facebook gets more clever. So I'm now getting new subscribers for 50p each into my mailing list, and they come specifically because I'm advertising about Facebook ads. So they are highly, highly targeted. And so if you use, we'll talk about it when I get back. I won't be too tired next week. I'll be fine because I'll have had a whole weekend to get over things. But we'll talk about it next week. But go and have a look if you are interested in keeping your list continually refreshed for pennies on the pound. Go and check out the Lead Pages Facebook Ads course.
And does it teach you? I'll link to it. Does it teach you specifically in that how to target opt-ins?
Yes, it will do. How to target specific audiences. Yes, it will.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I mean, anyone can go and boost a post on Facebook, but if you don't use the Power Editor to do it, you've got limited targeting options. So, it's in one way is if you've got a great blog post, just to put a section of it and the URL onto your Facebook page and link back to it, and then you can go and then boost the post. But you won't get the choices of targeting that you get if you use Power Editor. So you have to learn somewhere how to use Power Editor. But once you've got the hang of that, you're away. You've got unlimited targeting options.
Okay, cool.
Yes.
So the writing's on the wall, according to Chris with the unpronounceable surname, but the rest of us can follow on behind for a bit. I think he He's just, I think, reporting the risks he sees, and that he started his business with a particular blog post that taught everybody else. He said thought leaders have done this and made it work for themselves, and then they taught everybody else to do it too. And of course, that's crowded the space, so it doesn't work as well anymore. He sees it coming. He doesn't have the answers. He just say, we just have to work these out as we're going along.
Yeah, I highly recommend you go and look at on YouTube. Go to Gary Vaynerchuk's channel. He did a keynote. It's called Vistage, Vistage, keynote 2005, and he's talking to a room full of small business owners and real world business owners about how they are falling behind with social media and how by ignoring it they're turning themselves into dinosaurs. So that would speak to anyone listening who's got a real world business. And then I'm just in the middle of watching a keynote he did with Life on Fire, which is a coaching company in America, a big coaching company, a bit like Action Coach, I think. And he is talking specifically in that one about social media marketing for service-orientated businesses. So I highly recommend both of them. He swears a lot. Be warned, it's very funny. But if you don't like upset, profanities, you'll be offended. But he speaks from the heart. He's highly articulate, and he really lays it out for why he does a lot of how many in the audience do this, how many in the audience do that, how many people in the audience now didn't do that a year ago and are doing that now, like use emoticons, for example. So he really proves his points very thoroughly in the speeches.
And is he speaking at your conference as well?
No, but you guess who I did see live at the party on Tuesday night? Pat Flynn. He was speaking live. I know he lives in San Diego, so I shouldn't have been that surprised. But he was very good. But so I'm trying to find out if Frank Kern's speaking, because he's really the only if it's back to education and entertainment. A lot of us are not bothering with many of the sessions because we feel we are educated enough, perhaps, and we don't need any more information. Otherwise we might tip over into overwhelm. But a lot of us want to see specific speakers for the entertainment value, and Frank's one of those for me. So,
yeah.
Cool. What's next then? I've forgotten. I've lost my bit of paper.
Word of the week. Word of the week. You go first.
Expansion. I want to expand the business. I want to expand my mind. I want to expand my world. This travelling has made me realise that sitting in my showroom dining room for weeks on end is not acceptable anymore, and that the thought of just getting into a car and driving for 300 miles is not as awful as I might have thought. So I'm going to be going and visiting people. Be warned.
Oh, well, that's good, because you need to come up and collect your white dinner service.
Oh, fabulous. Are you continuing the clutter clearing then?
Well, no, I've finished, because that was January's project, but obviously this is sitting waiting for you whenever you'd like to pop up.
Well, we'll arrange a day and I'll drive to London and back.
Marvellous.
A mere 90 miles in the bag.
I was thinking when you were talking about the driving that you said, it's like the equivalent of going to Scotland every day. The weather and the geography and the daylight is quite different between Shoreham and Scotland. So no wonder it was every day when you went across the continent there.
Yeah, it was fascinating. I mean, I've got some amazing pictures. It was just, I was hoping it was going to be a trip of a lifetime, and it was in so many different ways and on so many different levels. So,
such a fabulous country to drive in.
Yes, it is. The roads are quite incredibly straight, some of them, and go on for miles and miles and miles. But yeah, it was great. We went from Florida, humidity and water, and everything. Went across the mountains, went across the deserts. Actually, at one point, right towards the end, just when we were thinking there was nothing more to see, we drove along a stretch of what actually looked like Saharan desert with sand dunes and everything, and sand blowing across the road, and it was just incredible. Sorry to bang on.
No, I fully expected you to today because, of course, as you said, it's a trip of a lifetime.
Yeah. What's your word of the week then?
It's audio.
Uh-huh.
Obviously, because of audio boom. And I like audio. I've got a good face for radio. I like audio. I like writing. As you know, I don't like to watch. I don't like to consume video, so I'm not going to create video. But I'm having a lot of fun with it. And when we get to Who or What's Impressed, there's another link to audio.
Right, good stuff. So, how did you come across Audio Boom then? Because I've never heard.
I knew about it ages ago. It used to be called Audio Boo. I think Tom Evans introduced me to it probably 4 or 5 years ago. I've had a dormant account with it all that time. During that time, it stuck an M on the end. I'm not altogether sure why. It's free to record up to 10 minutes, as many times as you like. It does connect with iTunes. It easily connects to Google+, Twitter and Facebook. You add a picture, you put some hashtags on there. Honestly, the whole thing, I allow half an hour a day to write 3 minutes, record 3 minutes and publish 3 minutes. That's quite a lot. I think I could get it shorter, but I like audio. I like radio. I love it. And do you remember Blog Talk Radio, which I really loved as well? Yeah. So I always intended to do this, and then I've got a lot of clients who resist blogging. And I said, well, have you tried Audio Boom? And I found myself repeating it over and over. Have you tried Audio Boom? Have you tried it? So I thought, do you know what? I better go and try Audio Boom. And then I'm showing them how easy it is. So there were a couple of clients, one in each of my groups, that I wanted to be audio blogging. And when I discovered how easy it was, which I already knew, it just makes it easier to nag them into doing it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. So you said it connects to iTunes. So have you done that yet?
I haven't done that yet. I can't work out yet whether it does that automatically or whether I've got to do it. And that was where I fell down when I was using it before, when it was called Audio Boo. I couldn't work out how to connect it to iTunes, although I knew it did. Now, there is an icon on my page that says iTunes, and when I press that at the moment, it just opens up iTunes rather than going to what I hoped it might do, which is connect somewhere. But I'd probably pay somebody to do that for me on Fiverr or People Per Hour.
Oh, no, I know someone who can puzzle it out for you.
Oh, marvellous.
My Chachi will sort that out for you.
Marvellous, okay.
She's in the Philippines. She's highly technical. She can just figure out just about anything out. So I'll connect you by Skype afterwards.
Okay.
I think that would be great for you to get that on iTunes. I think it'd be awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okie doke. So who or what's impressed then?
No. Project updates.
Oh my God! I've lost my Word document. You see, I usually print it out and have it by my side, but it's got buried in everything I've been showing you while we've been talking. Oh yes, here we are.
Have you got anything to tell me in this section, given that you haven't really been working?
No, I've got, as I say, we've got this new project that we've hammered out in the car.
Yeah.
Took on it as we drove, and I've got meetings lined up for today and tomorrow. So lots of people who I met on the cruise are saying, let's meet up at T&C, so I've got to organise all that. One of my, I don't know if you know, but I closed my low-level membership site. Because
oh, good.
I did that just before I went. I just thought, this is crazy. It's costing me £700 a month, and I've got, I don't know, about 5 people in it because I never get around to marketing it properly. And so I just, closed it, refunded anyone any month's money they'd paid, and I backed it up first so that I could, bring it back online on the same software if I wanted to. But on the top, remember I took on a few 2 or 3 top level clients last year, and they came down to Shoreham for the day, and then
yes.
we worked together thereafter. One of them has just sent, while I've been away, one of them sent me the most incredible email. She said, I put it on Facebook, so you might have seen it, but it was something along the lines of, she's just landed a contract to coach the whole commercial division of a company.
I did see it.
Yeah. And I sent her an email back, and basically she's not only landed the coaching contract, which is worth £84,000 a year to coach the entire department, but she's now she's very hopeful that will lead to coaching other people in the parent company. But they've also given her the recruitment work as well, which is worth another £12,000 a month. So from her investment of me of £8,000 as it was then, she's now secured over £100,000 contract per year, and she thinks it's going to run for 5 to 7 years.
Oh, that's great, isn't it?
I know. I was so thrilled. So that's my project updates are that I've closed the low level mentoring. I'm going to keep going with the high level mentoring because I get so much joy out of results like that for clients, and then just keep concentrating on the Facebook ads agency.
Very good. I'm pleased. Focus.
Focus indeed. What about you then?
Well, on Monday I launched Big Talk.
Sorry, say again.
On Monday I launched Big Talk.
Yes, that's your new project you've been thinking about for a while, isn't it?
Yes, It is. I had some thinking over the weekend, which was there's some anxiety in me around. I'm expecting this financial windfall, and I don't want to launch anything that I don't want to be doing for the rest of my life. And I thought, even if I was sitting in my tax-free sunshiny haven, what would I love to be doing? I'd love to be having life-changing conversations with people. So I just cracked on with it. It was Chinese New Year on Monday, very auspicious day. I didn't even check it as much as I should have done. I just wrote it and pressed send. And I'm going to change my Facebook page to that. And it's no different from what I already do. It's just a reframing of what I already do.
Yeah. Well,
I was going to say there's then even more exciting than that, actually, much more exciting than that. Do you want to hear?
Go on.
Do you remember me saying, I can't remember what I've said it on the podcast quite recently, that I wanted to, and you saw me post in the High Performing Women about it, that I wanted to joint venture with people who don't want to be with their clients. Creators, content creators, and people who want to package up their stuff because coaching isn't a good model. And actually, what I wanted to do is more than that. I wanted to find a project or two where I could work in the way that I did when you and I were in the money gym together, which is you come into the business, but you make it better.
Yeah.
And yesterday I had two separate invitations to do that, one from a man and one from a woman. The woman is somebody who's bought a couple of calls off me. She's got a nice little business, and I'm going to be an expert, do a one-to-one call with each of her clients, and take the bulk of the Facebook group work off her, which, as you know, I love. Yeah. And interesting, that should come after last week's podcast. This is not set in stone yet. This is still a negotiation, as is the other one, where I spoke to a bloke yesterday who has got the same model as hers, but 4 times larger, and 2 projects. And like you've just said, he thinks his thing will run for 5 to 10 years. And he wants somebody who will do the Facebook groups for him, but not just point people back to the modules of his online stuff, but have a savvy viewpoint of their own, and indeed make his business better. So I'm in negotiations with 2 people I would love to work with on exactly the basis that I asked for.
Cool. Talk about law of attraction, Judith. You put it out there and it happens. It's amazing.
Well, you know why it did is because I decided that February was going to be the month. It was the green smoothies, it's the vibrant, it's the positive energy, it's the Chinese New Year. I just knew it was all going to happen in this period, and I had no scarcity. You know that thing you said where you're not attached to the outcome.
Yeah.
Somebody that we both know offered me something that was nearly right. And I turned it down because it wasn't right. She wanted to bung me the odd £100 to do some remedial work whenever it was going wrong with her clients. That wasn't what I was after. And I teach my clients that you have to turn down the wrong stuff in order to manifest the right stuff. So I said, let me think about it overnight. I thought about it overnight. I knew it was wrong. I turned it down. She didn't mind because we have mutual respect. And then a few days later, both of these came in. And funnily enough, the 2 I did yesterday, the woman and the man, both of them wanted to speak to me last Thursday or Friday. I offered times. Neither of them came back. And then she booked herself into my diary yesterday, Tuesday, and he rocked up on Monday afternoon and said, how about lunchtime tomorrow, Tuesday? So they both appeared within an hour of each other on the same day.
So February is the new January.
Well, it is anyway, I think, because you won't be interested in this, but Mercury was retrograde for 3 weeks in January, and most people I know, there are exceptions. I have a couple of clients who had a good January. Most people I know had a dreadful January, and it's a sort of self-fulfilling prophecy, January, because it's the new year, but it's cold, it's dark, it's long, we've got bills from Christmas. It's hard, January, I think. I always have.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. I'm thrilled that that's coming for you, because you can bring so much value to other people's businesses. I know that because you did to mine. So
well, I hope so, Nicola. And if it's not these 2, it'll be something like that. So yesterday I had a fantastic day. I was really excited about it.
Yeah, I think you were. Gosh. So
I mean, the only downside is it's going to make me very busy, of course. Anyway, I'm not going to complain about that. We'll worry about that when it
God. and I want to hear about your after the podcast. So don't dash off, because I want to hear about the other thing you were talking about. Your the thing you've been working on for a long time.
Okay.
Who or what's impressed then?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you about Richard, who's one of my artist clients. He didn't do January. In January, he did clutter clearing in his tax return, and in February, he's doing the artist's way. He took one look at Audio Boom and immediately set up a profile and created content of his own, which was, he didn't even ask or say or anything, just went, oh, I want some of that, and did it. But more, he's been blogging his artist states, that you have to do when you do the artist's way. And he's blogging and creating a content like a good one. But one blog post that he wrote on his, I think, first artist date, he went to Eastbourne, which is pretty much the nearest beach to where he lives, I think. But he created a blog post which had photos in it, videos in it, and drawings in it. So he had 3 different forms of media in the one blog post. And then the next one he did was Audio Boom. So he did photo, video, drawings, and then audio. How's that? Isn't that impressive?
Oh, Google loves multimedia blog posts.
Well, one of the drawing in his he's getting 1 opt-in a day, which I think is quite good for a newbie. It's better than I get.
Absolutely.
I nearly asked you if I could use his drawing in last week's newsletter because I liked it so much. Anyway, I've been impressed by Richard. Richard Pettit, art, Pettitt.
Oh, nice. So you're going to put a link to him in our podcast episode?
I will. Yeah.
Good. Well, I'm going to be blowing my own trumpet in this one. I've improved myself this week.
Oh, I love it when we do that.
I've been so brave about so many different things that I've also had lots of lovely emails from people, my clients who are doing really, really well. And I've been strong about boundaries. You'll be very proud of me on the non-squidginess of my boundaries. And I've just generally feel that I've grown enormously as a person in the last 3 weeks, and particularly this last week. And I'm looking forward to seeing how that manifests when I get home. I'm determined to keep it up, and I don't know how I will do that, but it might well be by hiring a coach of some kind.
Interesting, Nicola. America's very good for you because the last time this happened was when you went to Rich Sheffrin's weekend.
Yeah, I did. That had a major impact on me, and I think it's something about America. I think I'm definitely a born again American, but it's something about the scale of the place, the positivity of the place, the sunshine. I think all of that just adds up.
I agree, and they have a can-do attitude. And why it's so easy to be, apart from those nice wide roads, is there's, compared to England, which is a tiny, overcrowded island, it's an enormous, great big continent with plenty of room for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's astonishing, the amount of room everything has.
Isn't that nice, though?
I've got to find a way to keep. I mean, I journal, as you know, and I've got to find a way to keep this energy going, so that when I go back and sit in my little dining room in Shoreham by Sea, in my little fisherman's cottage, I don't feel locked up again. I don't get.
And can I tell you, I don't think you'll backslide, because you didn't backslide after Rich Sheffrin. Don't worry about that. I don't think that's going to happen.
Okay. Well, worrying about things is one of the things I've got to stop doing, because I worried about so many things on this trip and none of them happened. There was not a brown recluse spider in a cupboard. There was no serial killers to be seen. So,
and just before you go, will you please tell us about the shooting experience? Because that's the one I've seen you do that I'm the most envious of.
I was so astonished that you approved of that. I was so worried that you would be all no.
I mean, I don't want the Americans to have guns and shoot one another, but I'd definitely go to the range and shoot. I would have shot all 3 of those different types of weapons.
Well, it was so funny, because we had to drive for an hour off route through the backwoods of Louisiana, and it was Bible Belt, so there were all these little bungalow houses on stilts, and dogs as weapons with, and we went past, as we turned off the road, we saw a man in camouflage standing under a tree. It was really quite intimidating.
Nicola, camo, we call that.
Oh, do we? Camo under the tree. And we arrived at Jay's shooting range and gallery, and it was Dave, actually, not Jay. And I'll tell you something funny at the end. He was such an amenable bloke. We all had to sign these forms and read all these things about, safety and everything. And then we all trotted off to the first. The boys got to decide which guns we were going to shoot. And the first one was a Glock semi-automatic. So that was a handgun, And so I particularly wanted to learn how to use a handgun in case I ever should need one. But I didn't feel particularly I was ever going to use a hunting rifle or a sniper rifle.
Yeah.
So I didn't. Yeah. Once I'd got over the fear of doing the first one, and we had 15 shots each, but by the 5th shot, my adrenaline was kicking in and I was shaking like a leaf. But I was a crack shot, Judith. Can you think of such?
Yes, I saw that. I saw that.
It was so funny. And then I had another 3 just because the video hadn't taken and they wanted to make sure that we had video of me doing it. A little bit astonished at how wobbly my bingo wings looked when I was shooting it, especially in slow motion.
I tell you what's so gorgeous about this whole trip story is, woman in 2 cardigans turns out to be a crack shot with a Glock.
They're still talking about it. They just can't quite believe it. But I just did what they told. There's 3 little things on the top of the gun, and you have to line up the thing. And that's all I did. I just lined up the thing, braced myself, and did it.
Well, you know what? That's what Marcus de Maria used to say when he taught women to trade. They're better than men because they do as they're told.
Yeah, that's right. And then the funny thing was right at the very end. So we moved up to the rifle range, and I just didn't really feel the need to do that. I was just. Yeah. I just didn't. I felt I'd proved myself already, and I didn't really need to do any more. And the sniper rifle was just horrendous. I mean, it was so loud. We all had to wear ear protectors and things, waxy things in our ears and everything. But but right at the very end, the most hilarious moment was I was chatting to Dave about how busy they get at weekends and things, and he asked me if I'd write a review on TripAdvisor for him.
Oh, bless. There's a man with an eye on the social media.
Absolutely, yeah. He was a young chap, and apparently, TripAdvisor is very good for them. But he was brilliant, so I will do that.
Oh well, I know from my client Liz, who has a B&B in Austria, how important these reviews are on those things.
Well, yes, and how easy it is to get a bad one, and how you can't take them off. I know that.
She got very upset about that actually, because she's number 1 and number 2 in Austria, and one poor review based on a misunderstanding will reduce that average quite dramatically.
Yeah. So it's very important. No, great fun, and another life-changing experience really, because I now know how to put a magazine of bullets into a Glock semi-automatic. I'm very.
And all my heroes in my crime novels have Glocks. I'm very excited.
Yeah, exactly. Good stuff. Well, I'm off to breakfast on the 33rd floor private lounge today.
Lovely.
Because Pete got upgraded. There's a very funny story there. I'll tell you another time. He got upgraded to the top level. I think he's on floor 40 something, but it gives us access to the private members lounge on floor 33, which we're all taking enormous advantage of, obviously.
Of course. Freeloaders are us.
Yeah. Brilliant. Okay, lovely to talk to you, and talk to you next week, same time.
Okay. See you, babe. Okay, bye.
You've been listening to Nicola Cairncross and Judith Morgan. The podcast is called Own It, Your Business and Your Life. Do come and visit us at ownitthepodcast.com. We'd love to hear your feedback. You can find out more about Judith and visit her on her website at judithmorgan.com, and you can find Nicola at nicolacairncross.com.